All right, I think we're in.
There we go. All right, Stephen Follett with Thunderbird Long Range, and we got Randy Galvin with LRS Precision here with Long Range Studies. So Randy wanted to kind of cover, besides your rifle and your ammo and scope, what else are you going to take to the range? So Randy, what's the first thing besides your rifle and ammo that you grab or have with you when you head out to the range or to go shoot?
Definitely for me, it's going to be my bipod. If you're shooting long range and you don't have a bipod, it really limits you. And I mean, positional stuff, you can do that obviously with shooting bags, but we're talking people just getting into it, going to the range, either shooting prone or just off of a shooting bench.
All right, so a good bipod that does that, and just quickly, why? What is it about a bipod that you're looking for? We're going to cover specific bipods in that, but what does a bipod do for you when you're shooting long range?
It helps keep the rifle stable so that you can, so you don't have the front of the barrel moving around. For me, just something, it needs to be a sturdy bipod. And like you said, we're going to be doing a whole video show on bipods here soon. But just really any quality bipod. And especially at this year, a lot of new ones have hit the
Yeah.
market targeting PRS and just shooters in general. So I think now is a great time to start thinking
Build
bipod.
that. So it's stabilizing the front of the rifle.
Yep.
That's the simplest way to do that. And so stabilizing the backside of the rifle, what do you use and throw into your bag for that?
I use a rear bag from you. Actually, I use one of the Thunderbird rear tacky bags. I think that's what you're calling that one, right?
Yeah, I got a
Tacky
bunch of
brick.
names, a bunch of things, so
Yeah.
still kind of fluid. Yeah. So what's the basics that you're going to look for in a rear bag?
I want something that isn't too big. I want to be able to hold it in one hand because I'm going to have my hand up under the rifle, my non-firing hand under the rifle, and I want to be able to squeeze that bag so that I can get the fine adjustments on the scope to get on target.
Yeah.
I want the bag to be moving the rifle for me to get on target,
Yeah.
and then that's the most stable way to get your shots.
Yeah. So with the bipod, holding the front end and fixing the elevation, you use typically a bag to squeeze, and the front of the gun goes down, and you let go, and the front of the gun goes up. So you're squeezing and controlling elevation with
Yep.
your rear bag, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of different companies that make them, so there's quite a few choices there as well. So
Yeah. Well, and as far as bags go, uh, I haven't really paid for very many bags. I started with something as simple as a sock filled with unscented kitty litter, right? And rice. Some people get airsoft BBs and all of those other things.
yep,
So something just to hold its shape and cradle it, a bean bag of some sort. Uh, and there's improvements, and I've tested them and played with them and made a bunch. And there are specific things that the bags that you can go and buy that will do that a bag of rice just won't do.
yep,
The Crown Royal bag, the purple velvet bag with
yep.
BBs or whatever. I think you have one that you filled with metal BBs, right?
Yeah, I've got one. I got it on Amazon. I think it was like $10 for an unfilled little cylindrical bag that I put your regular metal BBs in. It's great for bench shooting. I don't really carry it with me for PRS type stuff because it weighs as much as my match gun. Uh, I think I put.
Yeah, no, I
I
gotta
think it's got
imagine.
four. I think I got 4,000 BBs in it.
Holy smokes.
So
Yeah,
it's
so a good rear bag, uh, and those are the simplest ones to use when you run out there. But besides that, so now we've got our rifle, we've got it stable on the bench, we've got it stable in the prone. What else are you gonna have with you on that range trip?
I'm gonna have something that will let me get ballistic solutions, whether it's going to be an app or a Kestrel. I mean, you've got stuff that ranges from $15 all the way up to what, $600-700 for some of the top end Kestrels and Garmins with applied ballistics in them, and they all do the same thing. We'll do a full video on comparing a bunch of different ballistic solvers. You could even go as far as doing just dope cards printed out online. So that's not something you have to spend a lot of money on. But me personally, I wouldn't have anything less than at least a cell phone app. One of the better.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way. As cheap as they are, which is free for some of the versions, yeah, and even some of the pro ones, I really like the Applied Ballistics simply because of everything that they're doing for the community. So I want to support them. So it's nice having something to plug in and, for your environmentals, and if if your velocities had a change or whatever, it's nice to have something that can be adjusted, especially when you're shooting long range.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's honestly one of the most important things. Once you get your gun zeroed, you need to be able to put that information in there and figure it out. Otherwise, you're gonna need to be a nuclear physicist or something to figure out all the math on that.
Yeah. A rocket surgeon, as some of my friends will say. So, besides the ballistic app, I've also seen guys use dope cards if they know kind of the general density, altitude, or environmentals for a specific place. You can certainly take your velocity, take your environmentals, print it off, and create a dope sheet. But at least you're doing that at home, where you're getting the specific information, so you've got good data, right?
Right, and with that, I think that for me, that's kind of a secondary type thing I'll have, because I still want the app so I can change stuff real time. Let's say I did my ballistic charts at home, printed them out, and my DA is off, or for some reason my velocity is 15 feet per second off from what I printed it off at home. If I have an app on my phone or in a Kestrel or whatever, I can go in and correct that. If I print it off, you're kind of guessing at that point.
Yeah, it's a backup. It's a backup.
Exactly.
Like you said, it's secondary. So, all right. Well, now you've got the basics, and right there, I'm going to say that besides my rifle, my bipod, my rear bag, and the ballistic app, I've got everything that I need to go shoot a match or to go shoot and have fun. But when I go to a range, I also take with me my chrono.
Yep, absolutely.
So you could certainly get a chrono, and you don't have to use it every match. When you're doing load development, you're absolutely going to need it. Yep. When you're getting your zero and you've got your ammo, then you'll need to get your velocity for that batch of ammo, so to speak.
Right, and it honestly, a lot of people think that you need a chrono just if you reload. I think it's honestly more important if you're using factory ammunition, because you need to have that velocity, and what's printed on the box is not going to be what's coming out of your gun.
Yeah, it's a good guess, and it'll get you close.
Right, it will get you close, but if you're shooting a match, you need to be a lot closer than that's going to get you, especially getting anything past 400 or 500 yards.
Yeah,
it's good for minutes.
You can do that, but a chrono, a chronograph is going to be one of those tools that's useful. And I run a LabRadar, and I know you run a LabRadar, and you also have the MagnetoSpeed, right?
Yep. And I honestly recommend the MagnetoSpeed to newer shooters, just because I think for what you and I do, it's good to have the LabRadar. If you're just getting into long range, unless you do a lot of other supporting types of shooting where you would also need it, like if you do a lot of pistol competitions, a LabRadar is good because you can get your power factor and all that stuff.
Yeah. For
pistol stuff, I think you can do archery with it as well.
Yeah, you can do archery. There's all sorts of different ways that you can do it.
Yeah. Right. So that's where it kind of boils down to: is it worth getting for you? Because I think the LabRadars right now are running about what, 550, 560.
Yeah, I think they're about twice as much as what I just out of the my rough as a magneto.
Yeah, and right.
But yeah, so we can hit how you and I use the our different chronographs and the capabilities of each chrono. But I bring a chrono anytime I shoot. I've left it home a couple times, and always I regret not taking it because it is so simple to set up and to use.
It is, and now that
and go from there. But I will say this: when it comes to chronograph, if you don't have the money for it, certainly what you can do is take the velocity on the box, maybe fudge it up a little bit or down a little bit, get your perfect 100-yard zero, and by perfect I mean perfect. You especially want the elevation tracking, perfect, and then go shoot it at 500 yards. Figure out what you think the dope is, dial for it or hold for it, shoot your group, and then see if it's high or low, and then you can subtract or add velocity. And that's why it's good to have an app with you, because then you can just kind of tweak it and say, okay, this is my actual drop at 500, plug it, get that velocity in there, and go from there. And then shoot it, or shoot it at 300 and 500 and 700. You can get that. So if a guy just wants to go and shoot and would rather spend all of his money on bullets and ammo and doesn't have a problem shooting, then that's fine. But for me, if it was just an inexpensive one like a Magneto Speed Sporter, less than $180, I think is where they're at right now. That's how many boxes of bullets that I wouldn't have to shoot. And once I get that, then that's good, because I can get my velocity and shoot my 0 at 100, and then I can immediately start shooting really on applied ballistics with a custom drag model. Instead of the BC for my bullet, I've gone out to 1,000 really quick, and I just tweak it just a little bit. So that's one of the benefits. Is it may cost you up front, but it's going to save you lots of money on the back end, having the chrono and being able to do that. So, and we'll cover that more specifically later. But what do you haul it all around in, and what else do you have in it, like a box or a backpack or?
Yeah. So it depends on what I'm doing. I've got a fairly good sized Pelican case that I use as a range box, and it's got a lot like my targets, a stapler, all that, your basic go into the range type stuff. It's got some minor tools and stuff in it. But for the majority of the stuff, I got a backpack that's got all my main stuff to go with my match gun and my trainer. So I can just, if I'm going to the range, I can just grab a box of ammo and go. I've got my magazines in there. I've got a little wrist coach from Armageddon Gear that basically has a miniature dry erase board that you can wear on your wrist and put the different target distances and dope data that you need on it, so you can engage different targets. I use that for a lot of the match type stuff. If you're just shooting off a bench, you don't really need something like that, because you can just write it down on a piece of paper or something. But I mean, they're cheap. You can. That one, I think, from Armageddon Gear is like $35. I've seen.
I'm even cheaper. I bought the little coach one.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys.
Like I've seen $10 or $11 on Amazon, and it fits the index cards. And so I pull out the index card and write on it, and then shove it back in.
Yep, that's a great way to do it. I've seen guys at matches just have a 3-inch roll of painter's tape that they just write the data down and tape it to their arm.
Yeah. No, I did that for a lot of time, and I just got tired of pulling the tape off and putting it back on, and it was always hard to write it onto my wrist or whatever. But write it on the roll and do that. But I think I still have some tape, and actually I hand it out if people want. Go and grab some.
It's a pretty simple. I mean, that's really an easy thing. Those wrist coaches, a lot of people use those because they're definitely cheaper, and I mean, people have been using them in football forever, so you've got a lot of choices and stuff on those.
Well, anything else in your backpack? What else do you find that you use and you just keep so that you have it at the range?
I've got magazines. I've got some magazine holders that I can put on my belt. I keep my shooting bags in there, or either in it or attached to the outside of it. And for shooting bags...
Yeah, when you say shooting bags, you're talking about like your rear bag and your front bag.
My rear bag, I've got some support bags that I've got a tacky sack and a tacky taos that I use for obstacles and stuff. And I've got a larger Armageddon gear kind of support bag that goes under for my shoulder and stuff to stabilize it on different obstacles.
Yeah.
I'm pretty minimalist on that. I mean, the majority of the stuff is taken up by my shooting bags that are in the backpack, and then I've got some pens and little wet erase markers that I use to write on the wrist coach thing.
Yeah, so I have, just going over what I have my LabRadar in a hard Pelican type case.
Right,
so,
yeah, and that goes in my range box.
Yeah, so I have that, and inside there I have just orange dot stickers, and I have the shoot and see with the little green backing, so that if I'm shooting groups or at 100 or 200 or 300, then I can see those. So and they're smaller ones. I used to get the whole sheet, but all I need is a smaller one like this. Honestly, even at 300 yards, I'm going to be on the sticker. Or off just, and so I just need to move it a tiny bit or whatever. But so that's in that one, and I have extra batteries for everything in that case, and an extra battery pack for my my LabRadar.
Yeah,
And I have my backpack. And for my backpack, I have a little gear bag that has tools and wrenches and my torque wrench for any fastener on my gun. So from scope rings to rifle to bipod to anything, I make sure that I have that tool. And so I run the Borka, and it has everything that I need. So all I have the Borka set, and then I have the little Allen bits, the hex bits, and the torque bits, and screwdriver bits, because they can clip into a ratchet extension, and then I've got another ratchet, so I can run everything with that. So
yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, that's how I've got my range box set up. I use it for a torque wrench. I've got the little Vortex scope mounting tool that they've got. It's a little inch-pound torque wrench that, honestly, I think that's the best product Vortex makes. But
yeah,
I really like it because it's adjustable from, I think, 1 inch-pound up to 50 inch-pounds in 1 inch-pound increments.
Yeah. So having a torque wrench, and I've used it, I can't tell you how many times.
And half the time it's not even, half the time it's not even for my gun, it's for somebody else's.
No, it's most of the time it's not for my gun, other than, adjusting scope caps or whatever, or slipping the turrets. So the tools, I keep an extra set of just cheap glasses, because you always need Ear Pro or Eye Pro. Range won't let you on. And then I have extra earplugs for me and for other people, and I also have my ear muffs. I keep water and a power bar just so I don't get hungry.
Yeah, that's good to keep. I keep
a stick or two of gum, and then I keep my magazines in that backpack. These things stay in the backpack. I don't ever take them out and put them in another bag. The magazines, wrist coach, my hard dope cards with different DA, and at 25-yard increments, and then a shooting book and a pen. Right, so I try to record more faithfully the conditions and what I'm shooting, and if I'm practicing, I write down what I did or didn't do, so that book carries the data. Now, that's one thing that I do take out. It's not necessary, but I take it out because I do dry fire practice, and then I write down things. But that's what's in my backpack, and so with that, I grab my backpack, my LabRadar hard case, and my guns and ammo, and I'm out the door.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I've got it. I do keep a decent amount of stuff actually just lives in my car. I've got 2 sets of electronic Ear Pro in my car that just live there. I've got some spare earplugs and stuff, and they really just they live in my vehicle.
I have rolls of targets and my tripod and all those things. There's a lot of things that stays in my truck as well. I throw in all sorts of other things, glass, my camera, and other things that I add on. But if I just want to go shoot I can grab those three things:
Mm-hmm.
my rifle bag, my shooting bag, and my hard case, and I'm good to go. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
with that, you don't need to muddy it up. And once you get yourself set, don't be pulling things in and out of your bag, because you'll just confuse yourself or forget something. I've forgotten stuff, and so that's why my tools never come out of my bag. Like, they
Yeah.
stay in that bag. I have other tools at my workbench that I use, so I
Yep.
can do that. All right. No, good episode. I think we're going to we're going to cover specifically bipods, what's out there and how to use them, how we use them. Rear bags is another episode coming up,
Yep.
as well as the chrono, ballistic apps. And with that, we'll be putting up some new episodes, some new things, so that you can start to get an idea, especially for new shooters, about what's out there and how to use it, and start making a decision as to what's going to be the best for you as you start buying things and moving forward. So anything else from you, Randy? I'm done.
No, for this episode, that's about it. One thing I might add is I think we're going to be doing a scope selection episode fairly soon as well. But that's
Yeah.
that's that's really about all I've got. I think this one's gone pretty good and gives you a good idea of what different things you're going to need to go out shooting besides just your rifle.
Yeah. Awesome. Catch you later, Randy.
All right, take it easy, Steven.